The German economy is experiencing one of its deepest crises in recent decades. What was once called the locomotive of Europe is now increasingly appearing in analytical reports with alarming headlines: industrial decline, export collapse, shrinking orders, mass layoffs. But worst of all, the crisis has hit Germany's pride, its heart and symbol, the automotive industry. BMW, Mercedes, Volkswagen, Audi. These names have always been associated with quality, precision, and prestige. Today, for the first time in decades, German companies openly admit they are on the brink of catastrophe. According to Handelsblatt, in just the past 12 months, BMW's profits have fallen by almost 1/3. Experts call this an unprecedented drop, while company representatives describe it as the biggest challenge in the brand's history. The causes of the crisis are systemic. The German economy is shrinking under the combined pressure of several factors: the energy crisis caused by the war in Ukraine, the fall in industrial output, weakening consumer demand, and of course, the powerful pressure from China, whose electric vehicles are literally taking over the market. Just 5 years ago, Chinese electric cars were seen as an experiment, but today, everything has changed. In Europe, 1 in 3 new electric vehicles is now of Chinese origin. Companies such as BYD, NIO, XPeng, Geely, and especially MG are aggressively conquering the market, offering cars twice as cheap as their German counterparts while maintaining comparable technology levels. According to the Financial Times, the market share of German brands in the European Union's electric vehicle segment fell below 20% last year, and the trend is accelerating. BMW is not just losing customers, it is losing its future. The main problem is that Germany has become more dependent on China than ever before. More than 80% of all battery components used in the new BMW i-Series models are produced in China. This includes not only raw materials, but also lithium, graphite, and rare earth metal processing technologies, without which battery assembly is impossible. And now China has begun using this as a pressure tool. In July, the Chinese Ministry of Commerce announced restrictions on the export of gallium and germanium, key elements for semiconductor and battery production. As Bloomberg notes, this decision was a targeted strike against the weak spots of European industry. Within BMW itself, sources cited by Der Spiegel say there are serious fears that the next materials to face restrictions will be rare earth minerals, neodymium and dysprosium, essential for electric motors. Without them, German carmakers simply will not be able to produce electric vehicles. One company engineer, speaking anonymously, stated that if China cuts off supplies, the entire European auto industry will come to a halt within a few months. And this is where what analysts had long warned about becomes clear. China is playing a strategic game. It is not merely competing, it is building an architecture of control. The Chinese auto industry is not just pushing out the German one, it is doing so with surgical precision, exploiting Europe's weak points. Against this backdrop, an increasing number of experts, including those from the Economist Intelligence Unit, argue that the current crisis is no accident, but the result of Beijing's long-term strategy to seize the global automotive market. Indeed, the statistics are striking. In 2020, China exported about 1 million vehicles. By 2024, that number had reached nearly 5 million. This is more than Japan and Germany combined. China has become the world's largest car exporter, and it has achieved this not through cheap labor, as in the past, but through technological superiority. CATL batteries, Huawei control systems, Baidu software, all this creates a synergistic effect that allows Chinese cars not only to be competitive, but often to surpass their German counterparts technologically. BMW, meanwhile, has found itself in a trap. On one hand, the company has invested billions in developing electric technologies, but on the other, it has become increasingly dependent on Chinese suppliers. On the other hand, European factories are losing profitability due to expensive energy resources. After abandoning Russian gas, Germany faced an almost twofold increase in electricity prices. BMW plants in Leipzig and Dingolfing have already reduced production, and some subcontractors have begun to shut down. Even more alarming, however, is that Chinese companies are not just competing, they are beginning to buy out their competitors. According to Reuters, in recent months, Chinese funds linked to state institutions have attempted to acquire stakes in several European car manufacturers, including some BMW subsidiaries. One German official, speaking on condition of anonymity, stated that China is conducting a soft takeover. They do not offer direct purchases. They infiltrate through suppliers, contracts, and joint ventures. At some point, you simply wake up and realize that your supply chain is no longer yours. Meanwhile, anxiety is growing in Munich. At BMW's factories, there is increasing talk of mass layoffs. In 2025, the company already cut thousands of jobs, and new investment projects have been put on hold. According to Deutsche Welle, if the situation does not change, tens of thousands of jobs will be at risk within the next 2 years. And while Berlin tries to reassure the public, everything in Beijing is proceeding according to plan. Chinese think tanks openly declare that they are witnessing a change of era. Europe was the cradle of automobile manufacturing, but leadership is now shifting to Asia. In essence, China is not merely winning an economic race, it is building a new model of global industry where technology, resources, and production are concentrated in one place. Rumors are already circulating in the German press that several Chinese consortia are preparing an official offer to buy a stake in BMW. The company officially denies this, but according to sources cited by Süddeutsche Zeitung, negotiations did indeed take place last year. Munich refused then, but now, with BMW shares having fallen by nearly 40%, the situation could change. Behind closed doors, the German government is already discussing a scenario of partial nationalization of the auto industry to prevent control from passing to Beijing. That is why recent weeks in Berlin have unfolded in an atmosphere of anxiety and secret meetings. According to sources cited by Die Welt, the German chancellor held a closed-door meeting with the heads of the country's largest automobile corporations to discuss scenarios of direct state intervention to rescue BMW and Volkswagen. However, even within the government there is no consensus. Some propose creating a special stabilization fund, while others believe it is already too late to save the auto industry. Meanwhile, Chinese delegations have been appearing more frequently in Bavaria, the region where BMW's factories are concentrated. Their visits are officially explained as a search for technological cooperation, but as experts from the Frankfurter Allgemeine Zeitung note, there are far deeper interests behind them. Beijing fully understands that the acquisition of BMW would represent a geopolitical triumph for China, a symbol that the era of German industrial leadership has come to an end. And if events continue along the same trajectory, then within the next few years the legendary BMW logo may find itself under the Chinese flag as a sign of a new economic reality where the old rules no longer apply.